Hello, guys. Welcome to the Planning Engineering Job Interview Series. In this series, I'm going to help you people how to clear your job interview with multinational companies. Before getting into the detail of this series with different kind of questions, I would request you people to subscribe this channel so that in future, if I make any video relevant to skills, relevant to job career awareness, or any subject matter expert oriented video, you get that link on time. So let's start. When we are going to apply for jobs as a planning engineer after learning certain skill sets, we have a lot of confusions that how will we pass this job interview. So in this specific video, I'm going to help you people how to successfully pass job interview specifically in Gulf region. So all the multinational companies, organizations, either they are working in oil and gas sector or in construction industry, they have bunch of questions. I have been working there for last 10 to 15 years, so I'm going to help you from my experience. So first question they are going to ask you is what is baseline project schedule, right? As a planning engineer, it is very common thing that recruiter or interviewer is going to ask you such kind of question. So baseline project schedule is a document in which your all project management knowledge areas like your project scope, project timeline, your cost management, your resource management is integrated. There is a developed and approved critical path method. Your strategy will be representing in the format of critical path method. Your activities are linked up with each other. Everything is sorted. So that is executable document as per the construction strategy. Your site team, your head office team is going to follow that document. That is called baseline project schedule. And the second possible question which will be asked to you people as a planning engineer, that what is the main driver of a project and how you will get it. For that, I will be sharing with you Primavera P6 dashboard. You can see right now on your screen there is a baseline project schedule on Primavera P6 right now, and you can see the question is that what is the main driver, like which activity is driving this project schedule. If you can recall your concept of predecessor and successor in a series of critical path method, every next activity is actually depending on the previous activity. I have explained this one in my training session in very detailed way, but here I'm just going to give you a touch up that predecessor and successor concept will help you to understand. You have to explain that thing, that the driver activity will be diagnosed by critical path method. Right now you can see here critical path method. I'm going to implement over here the filter for critical, apply. I will be given only the critical path method over here. So the last activity of critical path method is actually giving you the footsteps that this painting is depending on hydro, and so on and on and on, and you will get your first activity, which is this one, layout and marking. This is actually driving your project baseline schedule, and how to get it I have explained it on Primavera P6 dashboard. Then the next question, that how many baselines are allowed in a single construction project. So I can explain, I can split this question into two categories. The first thing, there are three major baselines. One is scope baseline, cost baseline, and scope, cost, and resource baseline. But I can feel the question is about an other scenario, that how many baselines we can develop. Like integrated baseline, it is oriented to the integrated baseline when we are going to integrate cost baseline, scope baseline, and resource baseline. But the recruiter is more interested that how many baseline we're allowed to produce in a construction project schedule. The first one, the primary one, is the mandatory one, which is going to we are going to use as a document on the basis of earned value management. We are going to measure our project performance. But after that, if our project tracking, our project change order, our project change management, there are many proposals over there. With the passage of time during execution, we need to change anything through change management process, we are going to add that data or exclude that data. So every time we are going to add additional work, additional cost, additional resources, and it is going to impact on your project schedule, it is going to impact on your project completion date. We need to create another baseline. The previous baseline will be saved, and the next baseline will be called as secondary, tertiary, and so on. So it actually depends totally on the nature of your construction project execution, that how much changes are proposed and you need to incorporate within your project schedule via change management process. So there is no limit. It all depends on your project situation. So there is multiple, there can be baselines, because every baseline will be representing that specific situation. Another very important question which will be asked to the planning engineer, that what are different kind of key performance indicators. Remember that KPI is the major part of your progress reports and performance reports. I will use the correct word, performance report. Progress report is only giving you that how much work is done in the shape of, in the term of percentage, but KPI or performance report or earned value management stats are going to give you performance, or they are giving you the progress with respect to time and cost. So KPI, like there is schedule variance, SV, there is cost variance, CV, there is schedule performance index, and there is cost performance index. I have explained these terminologies in my earned value management lecture in very full details. So if you want to learn Primavera P6, you can also start watching my 2 hours based Primavera P6 video. The link is given at the end screen as well as in the details as well. So yes, KPI is representing the dashboard of your project earned value management schedule variance, and SPI is presenting your project time management oriented performance, that how much your project is lagging or it is ahead of schedule, whereas CV, cost variance, or CPI, cost performance index, is going to give you that your project is under budget or over budget. So what you normally need to develop a project schedule? This is very important question, and on the initial stage they are going to ask you such kind of questions, that you are going to join any company and you need to start to plan your project schedule, right? So what kind of important documentation you will be requiring? So the first thing, you will be requiring your project contract document. Then the second important thing is BOQ, bill of quantities. Then yes, drawings and the status of procurement, right? When your procurement or long lead items will be procured, what are their delivery on site dates, your designing schedule, right? Because designing is driving procurement and procurement is driving scheduling. So all these documents you will be requiring. Along with it, you need WBS summary, you need construction strategy, you need dependency model, because in our project this is very important that there is one dependency which is called mandatory. Discretionary is coming from project management team. Discretionary are preference based, what your company is going to prefer, how my project will be executed. So that construction methodology is going to be very important role. And one more thing I want to add over here, when we are going to evaluate our project schedule quality, so there are 14 DCMA points. So we need to discuss these 14 DCMA points, because they are going to decide our lag, our leads, our relationships, our long durations, our float. So these things should be discussed prior to start your project schedule, the constraint, probability kind of things. So all these things you need to discuss before you are going to start. And one more important thing, resource allocation, availability of resources, and productivity sheets are going to play very important role. So these important documentations are mandatory things you need to acquire before starting your project schedule. And apart from this documentation, you also need to understand that quantity surveyor is a job role which is going to support you a lot. Designing engineers, contract specialists, your project managers, your site engineers, all these people are going to play a very important role. Then the next very important question which will be asked you planning engineers, that how do you define a critical path method? Critical path method is actually a centralized concept. On the basis of this concept or strategy, your project will be integrating all the things. So critical path method is the interconnected activities in a dependency model, right? And it is going to define the longest path your project is going to, the series of longest dependent activities. And it is also going to be defined by having different kind of multiple paths, and out of those multiple paths which are starting from your starting milestone to the finishing milestone, in between these two milestones of your project there are multiple paths, like your civil series of activities, your mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So you need to identify which path is the longest path with dependent activities, right? So that longest path would be called as a critical path, and on that certain longest path the float will be zero. Whereas other paths will be called non-critical. That one certain path which is carrying zero float is going to be called critical path. Next very important question, which is like milestone activity, how much duration it is carrying. So in our project scheduling in Primavera P6 dashboard, I can show you that there are different kind of activities over here. And if I can remove this filter, and I will help you to understand that where we can find it out. I will get into the activity details, go into the journal. Here under activity type, you can find different type of activity types. Right now, the question is about what is a milestone activity, how much duration it is carrying. Actually, a milestone activity is not supposed to do our, any other activity like task dependent, like resource dependent. We are supposed to carry some amount of task, work, quantity. We need to spend some man hours over there. But milestone is not the same kind of meaning of activity like we need to do anything. It is kind of flag, it is kind of target. We are going to set up some targets across our project timeline, that this is our designing target, this is procurement, this is construction. So it is just a symbol of flag, like we are reading a book and we are going to put some flags that okay, we have covered 25% and we are going to put some paper, another colored paper, just for the sake of symbol, so that we can see that next day we are going to start from here. So the same concept in project scheduling, that milestones activities are going to play an important role like a target flag, and it is carrying zero duration. What is the difference between free float and total float? When I was defining critical path method, yes, non-critical activities are carrying this trait like float. So further, we are going to define float into two categories: total float and free float. Basically, they are also going to ask you the definition of float. The float is actually amount of time, right? Amount of time an activity can be delayed without delaying project duration, right? We are going to set our project on a certain date, that we are going to deliver this project after 1 year. There is a certain date we are going to conclude. So beyond that date, we are not supposed to, we can't cross that date. So that is our contractual obligation. So when we are going to define our float, so we have different kind of paths. There are certain non-critical activities on the non-critical path, and they are carrying float amount of specific timeline. They are carrying that much timeline. If they amount of days, number of days, if we are going to delay that project activity, they cannot impact on project contractual completion date. That is a flexibilities, that is called total float. Total float is actually relevant to the total the complete path, right? Which is a total amount of time an activity can be delayed without delaying project duration date. Whereas free float is directly linked with the status of immediate successor activity. Amount of time an activity can be delayed without delaying its immediate successor activity start date. So that is how you can answer this question. What is the difference between change order and variation order? Actually, I have explained earlier, but yes, they can ask you this thing. This is not about Primavera P6 oriented. This is about project planning control oriented thing. So whenever we are approved with our baseline, we are in the execution phase. Anything if happens, additional work, additional cost, anything suggested by designer, we need to change. We need change management to go through that process to add any scope of work, any cost, any resources. So both terminologies are representing same thing. Variation, like if design is going to change, and that is beyond, like some percentage is allocated, if that scope of work, that cost, or that certain thing which is going to be incorporated in our project schedule that is beyond some percentage like 5%, 10%, and it is going to impact on our project schedule. So we are going to label it as change order or variation order. Some companies or some regions of construction industry are going to label it as variation order, whereas others are going to label it as change order. Both having the same meanings. We are working in the execution phase and we need to add some extra additional work into our baseline, and that is beyond certain limit, it is going to impact on our project schedule. So we need to get approval, and that document would be called as change order or variation order. Very important question now: how to measure project progress? Basically, project progress formula is very important. I will be sharing on Primavera P6 dashboard. If you can come on here on Primavera P6 dashboard, so here you can see right now, if I can get on any activity details here on the status, you can see that there are different kind of inside the journal percent complete types, duration, physical, and units. You can see right now on the dashboard. These are the major three important things which will help us to calculate our project progress. Like duration is representing your project, you can say timeline, like days, number of days. Physical is based on the quantities. Units is based on the man hours or cost, if cost is allocated with our man hours, right? So basically, if you are sitting on Primavera P6, you can open this window and you can show them this is our basic three parameters. On the basis of these parameters, we are going to calculate our project progress. And if they are going to ask you generally, you can answer them, that is quantity, cost, and timeline or number of days. These are the three major parameters which are going to help you to calculate your progress. And progress formula is same, like work done divided by total work, elapsed time divided by total or original duration, right, or original time, and man hours, elapsed man hours divided by total man hours. So I hope you like this series of job interview of a planning engineer. I would request you people to watch my 2 hours based tutorial of Primavera P6 if you are not yet enrolled in my full session of Primavera P6 training in EPC planning, shutdown management, or EOT and delay claims. So this is going to be very beneficial and value added video, which is link is given above over there and also given in the details of this video screen, and is also equipped with that video link. So I want your comments that how much helpful, and I will see you in my next series of job interview of a planning engineer. See you inside. Thank you.